In 1987, arcade cabinets ruled the world, so to speak. Home consoles did their best to make ports of popular and unpopular arcade games, but in the end, they usually didn't stack up to the original cabinet port. We're reviewing Karnov, a game that accumulated its fame in the arcades, then found its way into our homes. So does this NES port of an obscure arcade classic fall short of its 350-pound cabinet counterpart? Let's find out. This is Karnov, an NES port of a semi-popular arcade of the same name. Karnov is an arcade game developed and published by Data East and released to the public in 1987. It's a 2D side-scrolling platform game putting you in control of a muscular Russian strongman known as Karnov. In 1987, Data East and SAS Sakata co-developed the Famicom port, and then it was published by Namco in December. Shortly after, the NES port was released in 1988, solely by Data East. Other ports for Karnov were made for other consoles, like the Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, and on the PC. The PC port being developed by Quicksilver Software and distributing on a self-booting disc. The storyline revolves around the titular character Jinbarov Karnovsky, aka Karnov, who's an Eastern Russian circus strongman in search of treasure. Karnov's journey won't be easy, as he must face monsters and warriors, employing his strength and breathing fire on them to secure victory for him in Mother Russia. All he has to do is collect all of the pieces of the treasure map. In 1989, Dragon Magazine reviewed the PC port of Karnov and gave it a 4.5 out of 5 rating, while other reviewers scored this title with similar high scores as well. Which begs the question, why is this title so obscure? The character himself is not obscure, as he has made appearances in other Data East titles like Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja, Fighter's History, and the Neo Geo game Street Hoop. Him being a boss in the former, while being spotted in the background in the latter. He is also a playable character in the Fighter's History sequels. So again, how does a game with such a colorful history and popular character become so obscure? Maybe the answer lies within the game itself. So let's pop this son of a bitch in and play it. Karnov is a wacky and random collage of crazy ideas and themes. Nothing in this game can be taken seriously, and it's driven home as soon as you press start. From the very moment a fire-breathing, muscle-bound Russian strongman descends from the sky as a bolt of lightning, you have absolutely no idea what you're in store for. Looking through the zany concept though, you're just playing an average side-scroller. But they hide it well with the crazy concept and odd choices for enemies and locations. You can be a little lost on how you initially feel towards the game. Is it some sort of madman's fever dream slathered over a basic platformer? Or is it some genius's artistic creation? With this insane mashup of weird things, the sky's the limit when it comes to what lies before our hero in his search for treasure. You traverse the dangerous terrain of Karnov in a non-linear style side-scrolling platformer. You take control of Karnov as you spit fire and jump over gaps to the level's boss. During your journey, you'll pick up a large assortment of items that will assist you in finding Karnov's treasure, such as a ladder you can climb to ascend to a high part of the level, or a pair of shoes that make Karnov jump higher and longer, and even bombs. Health is scarce, but you will come across it at times. If you acquire health while Karnov is maxed out, you'll upgrade his fire attack. Life has a 2 hits and you're dead rule, and unfortunately there's no way to increase that amount. Health is indicated by Karnov's skin color, turning from red to blue, opposed to a health meter on your HUD. Think of Haunted Halloween 85, but with fewer transitions. With it being a platform game, jumping is essential, but the jumping mechanic is the biggest or maybe strangest flaw in the game. Maybe it's a unique mechanic, but why does Karnov jump like he's on the moon? Unlike most platformers as well, you have a very difficult time controlling Karnov while he's in midair, even during his long descent back to the ground. I get if they made him descend down so slow, so it made it easier for the player to manipulate Karnov, but he barely budges and sometimes he won't move at all. Just a very odd choice in my opinion. A nice touch to Karnov is that the levels have no set path. that the game requires you to follow, as long as you're going from left to right. You're also able to backtrack, so your forward movement isn't final. And if you ascend, the camera will scroll upwards and follow your movement. Levels are well programmed, and very rarely will you come across a poorly designed segment. Sometimes you'll have to use the level itself to help navigate, such as climbing a tree to jump across an otherwise impossibly wide gap. My only issue is the levels all being comprised of a lot of step-ups. There are a ton of step-ups, and you can mostly guarantee an enemy will be spawning on the top of them. When it comes to environment, it's colorful, but bland for the game's insane premise. Levels are filled with stone walls, abandoned villages, and dead trees for the majority. Levels don't normally escape the orange and blue mixture often, but at times a splash of new color will make an appearance on the palette. One thing Karnov excels at is the types of enemies. Every level introduces new enemies, and each of them are crazier than their predecessors. Some enemy types reoccur, but for the most part you get new enemies with each level. Majority of the enemies you'll encounter are extremely odd in design, such as these rockmen that look like Dimension X rock soldiers from Ninja Turtles that spawn mostly on top of step-ups and throw boulders on top of you, or bizarre looking flying lizards that shoot a ball of fire at you. Even this weird ball of light that follows Karnov until he destroys every last ball and its structure. No two enemies are the same, but most die with enough shots of Karnov's fire breath. Bosses are a staple of every level, and even after you defeat them, they sometimes reappear in the next level as a normal enemy. Boss types are like anything else in Karnov. They're unique and weird. You'll come across a fishman, a woman walking a lion, and even a fire-breathing T-Rex. Some bosses have weak points like the dinosaur, where you have to hit it in the head to deal damage. When squaring off with the woman and her pet lion, it requires you to kill both her and the lion. Each sprite is eliminated separately, and depending on if you kill the woman or the lion first, depends on the boss's next attack. I prefer taking out the lion instead because the woman chooses to throw knives at you, while the lion will lunge and attack you. Strangely enough though, these bosses are susceptible to enough quick shots of Karnov's attack, even less so than some basic level enemies. Enemy types and programming though are definitely the game's strong suit. The difficulty is definitely there, but not too much. A well-focused player can go far and even all the way with this game. You have only 3 lives, but you have unlimited continues, where once you do so, you're transported to the beginning of the current level. Karnov is an extremely fair game, not when it comes to initial gameplay due to the odd jumping mechanics, but thanks to the leeway you're given when it comes to items. Even when you continue, you don't lose your items. But thanks to the unlimited continues and very lax checkpoints, the game isn't infuriatingly unfair, nor punishes you too much. It's very forgiving. Where do I begin with the visuals? Graphically, it's very plain as plain can be. They're definitely inferior compared to their arcade counterpart, but that's expected, due to most arcades having superior hardware capabilities. The color palette rarely strays from a mix of blue and orange, but you'll find yourself among light colors to help break up the rainbow and give the graphics a little bit more depth. Sprites are reasonably detailed, but some enemy sprites leave much to the imagination of what the hell you're looking at. Controls are hit and miss. The hit, the movement, and attacks are responsive, which makes platforming snug. The miss is the sluggish jumping and moonlight gravity taking place. You can't really control Karnov in midair, and you get to watch him slowly float down to either solid ground or to his doom. These controls are the game's biggest shortcoming. Sound is good, nothing truly unpleasant to hear, minus the death tune that plays every time you die. But all is forgiven as soon as Karnov descends from the heavens as a lightning bolt and materializes into a superhero landing, and a very Soviet-Russian tune plays for a short period before you're back into the game. Karnov is a harmless game. It's a classic obscure title that is a must-play. It has its flaws and it has its achievements. Where it fails ever so slightly. Where it succeeds, well, it succeeds ever so slightly. If you're into the odd and obscure, then pop this game in and play the madness that is Karnov. That's my review of the NES port of Karnov. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, give me a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.